Drone video shows the massive damage left behind after police say an argument between a husband and wife spiraled out of control Tuesday morning. Investigators say 48-year-old Eric Pirza used a Kubota excavator to rip apart the rear of the family's home. Pirza's wife told police her husband arrived at the family's home after drinking all night and began arguing with her. When she told him the marriage was over, he responded with a chilling threat. "If it's over, I'll tear the house down."
Terrifying moments caught on camera when a man driving a dump truck crashes into his own home in this South Los Angeles neighborhood. Patricia Dunn says the driver of that dump truck is her husband. She says they're going through a divorce and she fears for her life.
Trying to kill me. He really was.
A man huffed and puffed, and instead of blowing the house down, he brought an excavator after his wife told him the marriage was over. Another drove a dump truck straight into his estranged wife's home during a bitter divorce. Now, before you dismiss this man as simply crazy, ask yourself this. What happens when a man loses his family, his home, his future, and the life he spent decades building? And could stories like these explain why more men today are deciding marriage is not simply worth the risk? Stay with me because this conversation goes much more deeper than you think. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join the discussion. Let's get into this.
It's funny or what? Or not. But my neighbors over here are getting divorced. She told him last night that he told her last night that she could have a house and everything in it. Well, this morning he goes and rents some heavy equipment, and him and his best friend been over here today while she's been at work. And she hasn't got home yet. She has no idea. So, yeah. I don't know. Oh, what? See.
You think divorce is a reset button? In the courtroom, it's a delete button for your life's work. Most guys think they're walking into a fair split. Here's the math that they don't tell you. You lose half your assets, a third of your paycheck, and your entire retirement fund in a single afternoon. Then you get to pay a lawyer $30,000 just to fight for your right to see your kids on a Saturday. You aren't just starting over, you're starting at the bottom of a hole you spent 20 years climbing out of.
Let us look at these two stories for a second, right? In the first story, a man gets into an argument with his wife. She tells him the marriage is over. He climbs into an excavator and literally starts tearing the family home down. In the second story, a man is going through a divorce with his wife. He drives a dump truck straight into his estranged wife's home and crashes into cars along the streets. Now, let me be clear. I am not defending either man because both men made terrible decisions and are responsible for their actions. But these men simply literally respected the wife's decision and proceeded to split the assets. You can't really do right by women, I swear. But on a more serious note, what I'm interested in is it's not the destruction itself, but what happened before the destruction. Because you would agree with me that normal people don't just wake up one morning and decide, to tear down a house with heavy machinery. Some relationships will take you to the edge. You think you're in control, but you're not. In the first story, the underlying situation is tragic alcoholism combined with extreme rage. Turning a family home into a hazardous crime scene in a matter of minutes is a sobering reminder of how fast things can go wrong. But then, the common denominator in both incidents is divorce. So let's look at what happens in this case to men when a marriage falls apart and why that matters.
Going from this to this, it's a lot. How did divorce affect me? Financially, a lot. I have to rebuild, but it left me homeless. I'm actually homeless now. And because my credit got screwed up, as a result of the divorce, your name is on everything, and now I don't have a home. So my holidays are different. I may not be with family, and that's my story.
Nobody tells this to guys after divorce, but divorced men face nearly a 3 times higher rate of suicide compared to married men. And separated men, they face nearly a 5 times higher rate of suicide than married men. That's according to a 2025 systemic review published in Frontiers of Public Health. Because it's not just the divorce itself, it's what disappears afterwards. Routine, conversation, purpose, connection. Most men lose much more than a spouse. They lose stability. That's why the little things matter. Working out, cooking your own meals, getting outside, and keeping up with friends. Those things might sound small, but they're the things keeping strong single men alive.
You see, a lot of people, and when I say people, for the most part, I mean women, they miss the conversation men have been trying to have for years because they're just outright disagreeable. When most men think about marriage, they're not just thinking about a wedding. They're thinking about building a life. They're thinking about the mortgage, the house, the children, the retirement plans, and the years of work required to make all of that happen. Now imagine spending 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 years building something only to watch it fall apart. This man probably paid for the house and knows that when the wife files for divorce, she's going to get it. And that is enough to make anyone rage. Would have been pretty based, except that, the first man did this with his kids still in the house, which is very unfortunate. Again, that doesn't excuse what this man did, but it does raise a question. How many men are looking at stories like these and thinking, what happens if my marriage fails? As we all know, it is being reported that women initiate most divorces. And for the most part of it, it is because of the severance package that comes with divorce. This is not me saying what is not true, because women come online to say these things, like it's out there for all to see. But regardless of the reasons behind those decisions, divorce can be absolutely devastating for the man who spent years, sometimes decades, building a family, a home, and a future, because in most divorce cases, men lose the most. When a marriage ends, men feel like they are losing their identity, their purpose, their routine, and in some cases, the very life they spent years building. Talk about divorce settlement, alimony, child custody, and so forth. Perhaps if more women truly understood the emotional and psychological toll divorce can have on a husband, there would be a greater emphasis on saving marriages before they reach the point of no return. Because once a family breaks apart, everybody pays a price.
At this point in your life, whatever age you are as a man, if you managed to not get married, you're winning. Marriage is a scam. And I believe marriage is for weak and poor people, basically. Because if you're strong and if you can think logically, marriage is not a good deal. And sometimes we make mistakes and we get married anyways because we don't know better. But as long as you don't remarry and you learn your lesson, you're good. So don't make a mistake and get married. It's not worth it.
Most men are choosing to remain single today because of the turmoil, uncertainty, and the risk they associate with modern relationships and marriages. Now, women are choosing to stay single too. But here's an interesting question. Who do we constantly see online asking, where are all the men? Or where have the men gone? The thing is, many men are perfectly capable of living on their own. They work, they pay their bills, they pursue their hobbies, build their careers, and create peaceful lives for themselves without feeling the need to be in a relationship with a woman. I see this in my own family. My younger brother is 38 years old, has his life together, has all his ducks in a row, and has deliberately chosen to remain single. Ask him about it and he will tell you it's one of the best decisions he's ever made. My brother is not anti-woman and he's not bitter either. He simply looked at the modern landscape and concluded, my life is better this way. Whether people agree with that choice or not, it highlights a growing trend. More men are deciding that the peace, the freedom, and stability they have on their own outweighs the benefit they believe modern relationships offer.
If you wish to marry well, inquire well. Associations through hanging out or exchanging information on the internet are not a sufficient basis for marriage. There should be dating, followed by careful and thorough and thoughtful courtship. There should be ample opportunities to experience the prospective spouse's behavior in a variety of circumstances. Fiancés should learn everything they can about the families with whom they will soon be joined in marriage. In all of this, we should realize that a good marriage does not require a perfect man or a perfect woman. It only requires a man and a woman committed to strive together toward perfection. The best way to avoid divorce from an unfaithful, abusive, or unsupportive spouse is to avoid marriage to such a person.
If you ask me what I think is a fix for the declining marriage rates and the increasing number of men choosing to stay single, I don't think there's one magic solution, right? But if I had to point to one thing that causes the most relationship pain, amongst others, is poor partner selection. You see, we tend to ignore red flags and prioritize chemistry, excitement, looks, and all of that. Then years later, you're shocked by the outcome because the wrong person can make your marriage miserable. And the right person can make it one of the best decisions you will ever make. The result in most cases is that women leave the moment they stop feeling fulfilled or happy. And this is where we bring family back into the conversation. I'm not talking about parents forcing their children into marriages they don't want. I'm talking about families providing guidance, wisdom, and a second set of eyes when it comes to choosing a life partner. For most of human history, marriage was not viewed as just two people falling in love. It was about family, legacy, stability, children, and building something that would outlast both individuals. You see, the older generation understood something a lot of us overlook today. When you marry someone, you're not just choosing the partner, you're choosing the future mother or father of your children, the person who will influence future generations of your family. That doesn't mean families always get it right. They certainly didn't. But there was value in having people around you who could spot red flags that love and looks sometimes cause us to ignore. Today, many people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives entirely on their own, based mostly on feelings and chemistry. Then years later, they discover that attraction alone is not enough to sustain a marriage. At this point, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment that comes in and I do my best to respond to as many of you as I can. Now, to the men watching, if your wife told you she wanted a divorce, what would you have done differently? Or how would you have handled that moment? Let me know your thoughts below. I'm genuinely interested in hearing your perspective. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And I'll see you in the next one.